Yeah, the recording will be posted. You're welcome. So Kevin, take it away.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, and thanks for setting this up. Appreciate it. And thanks for everybody for being here. Yeah, I don't have access to the chats right now. It'll just be filming me, so make sure that anything comes up, talk to Elise, or you can always email me later if you have specific questions that you want me to answer. My email is kmeza@glendale.edu. That's KMEZA@glendale.edu. And today, we're probably going to go maybe an hour and a half, maybe, depends, and stay as long as you can. And it depends on what kind of questions that we have and kind of where I go with it. I guess that's the other piece. I'm looking here to the left to my timepiece here, so maybe I should put it a little closer so I keep on doing this and, you know, pass out or something, go crazy, go dizzy. So my name is Kevin. I've as of now, I'm realizing at least, like, December 1st, I will have been here 20 years. 20 years is that'll be my 20-year anniversary. So my God. All right. So throughout those years, you learn some things. So I'm gonna try to give you some advice and perspectives of the transfer process and how to approach it. And the first part, I'm gonna talk about some admissions things, because this is the final time to catch any admissions issues that you might have. Then the actual application with some personal insight questions, stuff that we'll cover too. And when we get into the application, Elise is going to be doing the clicking through. So I'll just tell her, like, next slide, that kind of thing. So, all right. Well, congratulations again. You're at the next phase of your academic career, and that's applying for colleges. The UCs are highly selective as freshmen, as first year, but as transfer students are not as bad as people think. And that's what I really want to make a note of that. So I want you to expand the schools that you're thinking of applying to. And that's why I'm going to go step by step to each college to kind of get an idea of how competitive you're going to be. The first thing through a checklist is to make sure that you have 60 units. So you need to have at least 60 UC transferable units by the end of spring. That's the goal. Now, they might extend it to summer, depends on what happens with COVID and some other things, but to your best of your ability, you're going to try to get 60 transferable units by the end of spring. If there's no way to do that, you're still going to apply. So if you just can't squeeze them in and you're going to finish off in summer, you're still going to apply, but you're also going to know that that might harm you in the admissions process. They may not admit you because of it, but you're going to do your best. One of my things is rejection is better than regret. So you always apply, you always move forward, right? I'd rather you sat for a day or two than the rest of your life wondering how would you have done, like would you have been admitted or not, right? So make sure you move forward with that. Having said that, make sure you have the requirements for whatever major that you're looking for. Some schools look at your major requirements and some schools don't. So keep that in mind too. A lot of the majors at UCLA, you have to do all the requirements, but for a lot of other schools, if you have the major prep, it's nice, but not a requirement. So don't think that one school's rules apply to all of them. So that's another piece there. And we're gonna go through that today too. Those are some of the big things, and know that if the school admits you, know that they know that you're going to succeed. So if they admit you, don't take yourself out of the running. So I get some students who get admitted, they're like, I don't know if I can survive there. Yes, you can academically. One-on-one counseling, we can talk about maybe being away from family, moving away from home, things like that. But academically, if they admit you, they believe in you, that you're a good bet. So believe in yourself. That's kind of what I'm saying to you. That is what I'm telling you, right? Because I know I had that thing for me. I got admitted to UCLA as a transfer student, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to compete with who I thought were the smart kids, right? And but I was able to do that through, you know, taking advantage of the resources on campus, tutoring, support, extra counseling, things like that. So make sure you use the resources available. The UCs have something similar to EOPS. So it's called AAP or EOP, the support services for first generation low income students. Make sure, again, you take advantage of that when you're over there and along the pipeline there. And let me see what else, other things you should think about. Financially, the UCs are actually not that expensive compared to what people think they are. I'll move this over a little bit to center myself. The UC, if your family income is below 80,000, you may qualify for the Blue and Gold scholarship, which means they waive your tuition. So family income's below 80,000, Blue and Gold scholarship. Look it up to see if there's any technical things that you have to look at, but it's free for those students. Otherwise, tuition is about 14 or 15,000 a year. Depends on how you look at the fees and stuff. So about 14 or 15,000 a year. Not too much. I mean, that's a lot of money, but compared to what you're going to get, it's probably the best value in the country in terms of higher education, because the UCs are consistently ranked in the top 50 in the country and perhaps the world. The average debt for a college student in California is about 25 to 30,000. That's roughly what you'll owe when you finish for some of you if you move away to go to college. But again, you make more money if you go to college. So the investment will pay off. So don't let that be a barrier. And again, one-on-one, we can talk about that. I myself was a transfer student. I went to Rio Hondo College in Whittier. I transferred to UCLA as a sociology major. I entered Rio Hondo, not sure what I was going to do, but I kind of figured myself out between psych and sociology. And then I went on to get a master's in counseling and then a PhD in education. All the way along the way, I was always trying to figure out what the next steps were. So now that you're applying to the UCs, I want you to think about grad school. So now we got the bachelor's degree out of the way. Think about grad school and further down the road. Start to plan these things, because that'll affect how you approach the next couple of years. That'll approach the types of jobs you're going to get, the student worker jobs, work study jobs, or anything you go, start developing a skill set for whatever it is that you plan to do. If you want to be a doctor, start volunteering at a hospital. If you want to be a counselor, start working with orientation programs, things like that. Okay, so I just want to give that base. So let's go through some of the UCs and their admissions policies. Let's start with UC San Diego. UC San Diego primarily just admits you on GPA. And the GPA for UC San Diego is, I would say, around 3.2 to 3.6, somewhere in that range to be admitted. 3.7 and above, you're in really great shape. 3.2 or 3.3, you might squeak in, but it's less likely, but still possible. Now, I'll repeat this. If you have a 3.0 GPA, I still want you to apply, because you never know what's going to happen year to year. But these GPAs kind of give you an idea where you stand on these campuses, because you get to apply to all campuses if you like, but you might only get a 4 for the fee waiver. So some of you might qualify for the fee waivers. You get 4 free applications. You definitely should take advantage of that. The thing about UC San Diego is that they have 6 colleges, and you might be asking yourself how to rank them. For a transfer student, it doesn't matter what college you attend at UC San Diego. They break it up in smaller colleges, but it's just a place to process your paperwork. It doesn't impact your major or your career goals. I ranked them based off how many extra classes you'd have to do as a transfer student. So if you finish IGETC, you just might have 1 or 2 classes per college to do, not too much. But one of them does not accept IGETC. So make sure to put Revelle College last when you're ranking the colleges at San Diego. And what I mean by that, when you pick UC San Diego and the application is going to ask what college that you want to go to San Diego. And this is how you answer this. This is my suggestion. Rank Muir number 1, Muir, number 2, Marshall, number 3, 6th College. They have it named a donor, so 6, the number 6, 6th. Then Roosevelt, then Warren, and then Revelle. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure to it doesn't accept IGETC for your major. So, I mean, for anything. So Muir, Marshall, 6th, Revelle. Muir, Marshall, 6th, Roosevelt, Warren, and Revelle. Apply to San Diego. They look at your GPA and your units. For some majors, they look at major requirements. On our Transfer Center website, there's a link to see which majors that they look for some major requirements. But that's primarily science majors. That's the ones that they look at the major requirements for. But most of the majors, they do not. So check that out. So that's UC San Diego. As we move up north, I think the next one would be UC Riverside. I would say that's a 2.7, maybe 2.5 to maybe 3.2. Most majors are going to be in that range for UC Riverside. So Riverside, you could commute from Glendale, but it's going to be kind of a chore, but you can still do that. I always recommend that you move to campus if you can. It gives you a better college experience. No one knows what's going to happen next year, by the way. I'll address the COVID situation, the pandemic. No one knows if the UCs are going to be in person. I think they're going to probably start experimenting pretty soon. But I can't even make an assumption either way. Just kind of keep an eye on your friends at the UCs to hear what they're talking about being in person or not. I know for Glendale will be remote for spring. I don't know for fall too far in advance to really say anything. So I would start planning as if they're going to be in person as you make these decisions, but I don't know. So that's Riverside. Maybe in 2.4 for some majors. Let's say 2.4 to 3.2, somewhere in that range. For UC Irvine, it's about a 2.7 to 3.2 for most of their majors. The business major is more competitive there, and maybe computer science. But most other majors, it's reasonable for Irvine, and I would say maybe 3.5 max for most of those. So again, 2.7 to 3.0 probably for like an English major, philosophy major. For a psych or biology or political science, that's probably in that 3.0 to 3.4 mark, somewhere in there. These are not guarantees. These are just kind of, again, to see where you stand. Speaking of guarantees, you still have a chance to turn in your tag. A lot of the UCs have the tag program, which is a guaranteed admission to the UCs. And you definitely want to take advantage of that. After this presentation, just Google search tag with the UC that you're planning to attend and see if you can still turn the application in for your major. All UCs have a guarantee except for San Diego, UCLA, and Berkeley. But all the other schools, and Irvine's a good solid place for tags, but you have to have a 3.4. And again, the tag details are on that tag website. UCLA is a popular school for a lot of Glendale students. They admit you by major. So some majors need a 3.2. Yeah, tag is due tomorrow, thank you. Some majors at UCLA, a 3.2 could get you in. Some majors at UCLA, a 3.8 is what you need, or 3.9. The popular majors are econ, business. The popular majors are business, econ, and that's like a 3.9, 4.0. Let's see here. Elise, you're also monitoring the people trying to get into the room, right?
Yeah. I'm letting you in. You don't have to tap your screen.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah. I'm just like, duh, like this weird, like poking people in the eye, right? Kind of like, that's like 3D. Huh. Anyway, so business econ 3.9, 4.0. Engineering, computer science at UCLA is probably like a 3.7, 3.8. Biology and all the sciences is not as bad as people think, but it's probably maybe as low as a 3.4 to 3.6, somewhere in there. But again, it's hard to maintain that GPA with those types of science courses. Sociology, political science, psychology, maybe 3.4 to 3.7, somewhere in that range. UCLA does look at extracurricular activities and challenges that you've had, so they could take that into account. But the biggest thing is major preparation. So make sure you do your major prep courses by the end of this semester. The more you have by the end of this semester, the better for you. It'll help. So they'll take somebody with more major prep than someone with a higher GPA. But probably the lowest, again, is like a 3.2. So 3.2 to 3.4 would be like a language major. It would maybe be philosophy, gender studies, maybe anthro. That's becoming more popular, though. And there's a lot of other majors that people don't think about. You can look to see if that's the interest for you. And so UCLA is a possibility. Now, I'm going to keep saying this to annoy you. At least you could, somebody proud. You could bring up the questions as I go along. That's fine. So anything substantial you can ask me, and I kind of like the free kind of thinking and thoughts and questions. So feel free to ask questions for me, at least as they come through. So
what about arts? Sorry.
What's that?
What about theater arts in UCLA?
Theater arts, if it's performance, it's just performance. So it's your audition. It's so you generally on the low end is 3.2 GPA, and then your audition or performance. But with theater arts or music or dance, sometimes with a lower GPA, you can still get in if they feel that your skills are warranted. So it's independent of GPA as long as you meet the minimum there. Let's see, architecture, that is based off portfolio and not so much GPA. I mean, obviously you want to get the highest GPA you can just for your own knowledge, but it's just portfolio. That's really how they admit you in architecture. And the architecture program doesn't make you an architect. It prepares you to get into a master's program in architecture. Film production. This is fine with the questions. Yeah, film production is just your writing samples of what you turn in. Your GPA doesn't matter as much, just as long as you have a 3.2, puts you in a better standing, and just basically how you do. They only admit a few people, So it's you have to apply to multiple programs for film production. People usually apply to UCLA, Chapman, USC, NYU, maybe Northridge, and then Loyola Marymount. So because you never know, because UCLA only admits like 15 or so transfer students a year on there. Let's see, I mentioned biology, science majors. Chemistry is easier to get into because a lot of people just find chemistry really difficult. So it's not as popular, but it's if you love chemistry, if you're one of those people who love it, you know, it's not as challenging to get into as a biology major. But then again, it's chemistry, so a lot of people don't really connect with it very well. But again, major prep is the big thing for them. Any other questions for UCLA? It looks like some of the questions are coming up. Yeah.
We have a question in the chat. It's for
Sure.
transferring in general. If this person got a low grade during their first semester and then successfully repeated it, how will that affect the acceptance chances?
Oh, perfect. If you repeated the course already, the UCs don't care about repeated courses as long as you repeated them. So an F and an A is an A to them. So D's and F's you can repeat, no problem at all. The UCs don't care about W's either. So if you have a bunch of W's, they don't care any form of W. You know, we have the new W process here. It doesn't really matter. It's not part of their admissions process. Now, if you have a lot of W's because of a reason, you might want to talk about that reason. Maybe you had some life circumstances that made you force you to stop attending college, but the W's don't matter. The only school that matters, physio and human. So human bio is very competitive. They only admit very few students a year. So you might need to kind of consider that when you apply. And physio, it's probably in that 3.4 to 3.7 mark, somewhere in there. But human biology, I feel like I shouldn't say numbers exactly, but I think it's under 30. It's like a smaller major. There's a list, if you do a Google search, UCLA transfer admission statistics, you can see the number of applicants and majors and how competitive certain majors are. So that's the issue with the human biology department over there. It's a newer major and it's very small. But if you get in, of course, you get great resources. That's the thing. Again, W's don't matter to the UCs. If you drop classes, I'm going to repeat myself. If you had something going on, then you can talk about why you drop classes, but it's really not really important to them unless there's some sort of issue that you need to share with them. And we talked about repeated courses. Academic renewal works the same way, where you get rid of other bad grades. Any other UCLA questions before we move on? Because I know that's a popular school for everybody. Okay, all right, so that's UCLA. We go to Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara, pretty much 3.2 to 3.4 for Santa Barbara. Most majors, you're competitive. So again, Santa Barbara is a top 50 nationally ranked college. It's a great environment. Hopefully they open up. Hopefully all this stuff, well, hopefully for everybody, the pandemic ends, right? But Santa Barbara is just a nice quality of life. You're by the beach, you get to school. Just you wake up in the morning, you know, you ride your bike to campus, you go to school, you take your books to the beach, you study over there. It's a really nice environment. And pretty reasonable on the GPA, and I would say 3.2 to 3.4. It might even go lower. It might go to 3.0 depending on how admissions works. No one really knows how admission is going to work through pandemic. Maybe they're going to admit more students than they normally do. Maybe they might admit fewer. It depends on how budgets go, right? We're not quite sure, but all I can tell you is kind of how they normally do it and make your adjustments there. Let's see. But yeah, the only two UCs that really actually look at your personal statement would be UCLA and Berkeley. I don't know why I did this like a little rabbit. So two UCs, UCLA and Berkeley, look at your personal statement. All the rest just GPA and do you have the right courses. Irvine might, they say on special circumstances, might look at the personal statement, but it's not very common. I'm missing some of the chats there, but for most majors at Santa Barbara, like I said, 3.2. I think engineering's higher, and you can always look at the tag. If you look at the tag for all the UCs, you can kind of get an idea which majors are more competitive there. Okay, as we move further north, we go up to, I guess, maybe Merced. Merced is probably 2.4, maybe to 3.2 for most of their majors over there. Merced is its own independent kind of school in a way. There's not much around it, so you definitely want to visit the campus. Some of you might like it. It's a newer campus, more resources on campus for you, and then some of you might be used to the city life, so there's not as much infrastructure around it. So you might go crazy with the boredom, or you might enjoy the time to reflect on life. You know what I mean? So 2.4 to 3.2 for Merced. UC Davis. It's kind of more up north. I'm going to look at the map, but UC Davis, probably On the low end, 2.8, but probably 3.2 is your safer. So let's say on the low possible end, 2.8, maybe up to a 3.4, somewhere in that range, depends on the ebb and flow of admissions. And they're another great option for California students. UC Santa Cruz, very distinct campus. It's a beautiful campus in the middle of the woods. So again, some of you might love it and some of you might find it a bit isolating, depends on your personality and what you feel college should be like. But I think it's a great spot and it feels like a private school. That's probably in that like 2.4, 2.5 up to 3.2, somewhere in that range. I want to give a big range because we just don't know how this is going to go. And the minimum GPA for the UCs is a 2.4. So that is the minimum for the UCs across the campuses, but some campuses are more competitive. So realistically, if you have a 2.4, there might be some spots for you depending on your major. So UC Santa Cruz is in Northern California, and Santa Cruz is about an hour and a half away from San Francisco, maybe 2 hours depending on traffic. Now we go to UC Berkeley, another popular campus for Glendale students. It's 3.0 and above, and then they look at your life challenges, accomplishments. 3.0, obviously it's going to be a stretch. I would say 3.6, 3.7 makes you more competitive for Berkeley. But if you're a single parent or in the military, a veteran, returning student, they look at that because they want a diverse student body on campus. So that's what that is. So, but again, your personal statements for Berkeley and LA are going to be taken into account. I think Berkeley weighs it more than LA. So if you have some interesting life experiences, Berkeley's more likely to take you because of that than UCLA through how they do that. So I just wanted to give you a quick summary of all the schools that you might be looking to apply and to encourage you to apply broadly to the UCs. And I know some of you say, oh, I ask you like, oh, can you move away to go to college? You're like, no, my parents won't let me. I'm like, okay, they won't let you? Like, oh, they don't want me to. Well, they don't want you to? Then you're like, well, I don't want to move away. So, okay, so just make sure you understand who's keeping you at home and if it's you or your family. At this point, you still apply and you give yourself some time. I've seen some parents get more flexible. I can't say for your particular parents, it's hard to say. You know, it depends on your situation. And, you know, sometimes that's negotiable. And a lot of times that depends on how your cousins did. If your cousins went away to college and did well, then your parents will probably let you go. If your cousins kind of messed up, then they'll probably keep you at home. But that's, you know, family by family stuff, family dynamics. And we could talk to that, you know, in counseling sessions. But you also, if you move away to college, you also have to make sure if you're going to be okay, right? Being away from family could be isolating for some students. Some students love it and enjoy it. And sometimes you kind of get a little sad to be away. Let's see. So that's, again, just to kind of give you an idea. To review, most UCs look at your courses taken and your GPA. They don't look into your soul and see what kind of person that you are. So if you're not admitted, it's a technical requirement, right? So just know that and apply broadly. Any questions, Elise, in the chat there that I should cover, you think?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions in the chat. The first one is it recommended to do a transfer pathway, and does it give any priority to getting accepted?
Not really. I mean, there's only a certain amount of pathways that they have. There's a handful of them. If it doesn't help too much, it helps for certain schools, but not for the more competitive schools. So if it lines up with what you've been taking anyway, it could help. But if you're looking at maybe like a Riverside or Santa Cruz or Merced, I think it could help there. It's basically the UC's equivalent to the Cal State degree, but it's not too much of an incentive for most schools. And we could talk to counseling one-on-one to see if that makes sense or not to complete it. But it's not, as for counselors' minds, looking at the bigger picture, it doesn't help too much. At least for our students at Glendale. I think if you went to another community college, it might be a different situation because you might be applying to maybe less selective, not that they're bad schools, but just maybe schools that are not as challenging to get into. Okay, what else?
Okay, we have a couple more. Is there anything you would recommend not mentioning in a personal statement?
I would stay away from strong political views. Well, politics and religion. You always have to be cautious of that when you go too much in a certain realm. But if you're actively involved, that's fine too. There's kind of a balance on there. Obviously, messages of hate, right? So don't put any messages of hate there. Or if you've harmed anybody else, that's the thing. So if you had a drug problem, if you got through some life circumstances, feel free to mention that. That's okay, what you've overcome. If in that process you physically harm somebody or you're incarcerated for that, I think that's a little harder to hear as a reader. But you could say, I made some mistakes, I was incarcerated, or I did some things that I'm not proud of. You could be vague if it was something that you've harmed someone else. If that makes sense, it kind of changes the tone. But anything that you've caused harm on yourself, that you had to overcome, that's completely fine. So, and that's more the personal insight questions. But and you could bounce off ideas with us when you meet with us. It's whatever has happened to you in your life. It's here's the event, and here's the impact on you. So whatever that could be a loss of a family member, that could be some sort of issue that you went through. You talk about it this much, and then this is the impact on you, how you grew from it, how you overcame it, and everything. Personal insight questions are your academic achievements within the context of your life. Your academic achievements within the context of your life. That is your personal insight questions that they're trying to get out of you. To a 3.2 for some students is a pretty good GPA. Or for another student, it's an amazing GPA. They got 2 or 3 kids that they're raising on their own. They got they're working 2 jobs, and that 3.2 is amazing, right? So it gives your GPA in context. Again, primarily for LA and Berkeley. So yeah.
Okay, and then we have one more that I see. This person has 2 AATs, but it only lets her include one on the application. Where can she add or mention the second one?
It doesn't matter. The UCs don't care about the AATs. It's not part of their admissions policies. So you could mention in the comments if you wanted to, but it's not part of their process. So that's more of a Cal State degree, and also just nice to have. I didn't complete my associate's degree, so it kind of bugged me. So it's nice to have closure, and congratulations on the 2. But yeah, it's not part of the admissions process, so no need to mention it formally in there. You could mention it maybe in your personal statement if there was a story that you took to get to that degree.
Okay, and then we had one more question come up. If a person gets into a university like UCLA, could they switch their major once they got into the school if the major is under the same department and they show proof of taking the prerequisites for that major as well?
Asking for a friend, right? Because
Yeah.
that student wouldn't do that. Yeah, right. So there is possibility that you can switch majors once you're over there. If you're going to do that, you have to go in being comfortable if you can't switch. Right? Because I can call today and they might say you can switch, but from today to when you start over there, they could change a policy on that, right? Or you might have a friend who was able to do that, but you realize, oh, your friend's roommate works in that department. So the idea is that you can't switch, but there is a possibility that you can, and kind of what you're doing by taking all the prereqs, it'll increase your odds of getting into that major. Now in life, your major really doesn't matter. If you're applying for med school or pharmacy school or dental school, your major has no impact on that. So nothing looks better, just as long as you do your grad school prerequisites. And in most cases in life, your major doesn't matter either unless it's like a technical degree like computer science or engineering or nursing and things like that. But whether you're a psych major, sociology, political science, English, it really doesn't matter. The research shows that it's kind of what you do with it, and you supplement your major with internships and experiences, and you'll be successful that way. But ideally you'll study what you like, and then you can maybe maneuver the system a bit. But we don't know until you're actually in that spot, in that year, in that office of that advisor that's going to approve you or not. All right, anything else?
I don't see anything on my end.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go into the actual application, and then Elise will pull it up on her computer, and then we'll go step by step on that. Okay, so that's the end of it, right? So we'll start from the beginning.
Give me 1 second.
Take your time, take your time. As she's doing that, just by the way, every chance I get, don't buy Lenovo computers. I bought a Lenovo laptop and it broke as soon as the warranty went out. And that's why I'm using my phone right now. So that's my stick it to the man, Lenovo products, don't buy them. I do what I can to get back at companies like that, but anyway, appreciate that, yeah. I have my platform, use your platforms. Yeah, it was like 3 months out of warranty and they didn't honor it. Like, what in the world? Luckily, I bought it with a credit card that extended the warranty. So it won't cost me money, but there's the idea of it. And then let's see, what other therapy can I get through as we're getting this whole thing? Oh, some of you might be applying to USC. Oh, let me talk about timelines. USC's due later on, but for timelines, you're applying now in January, apply by November 30th, even if they extend the deadline, do November 30th, get that out of the way. Get that out of the way soon. In January, they ask for your fall grades, because some of you are like, how do they know my grades in the fall? Well, in January, they ask, and you'll update your grades, and then you'll also let them know if you've changed your courses, because right when you're doing the application, it's going to ask you what classes you plan to take in this winter and spring. Do your best estimate of that, and then if you need to change it later on, not a big deal for them. And they don't ask for transcripts till later. So the UCs is just self-report. January, they ask for fall grades. And then probably March, April is when you start hearing back from the schools and whether you're admitted or not. If you're not admitted to a school that you thought you're going to get admitted to, come talk to one of the transfer counselors and we can kind of see maybe what happened. I've seen errors on students' end, but I've also seen errors on the UC's end, and sometimes glitches on the application. So sometimes we can figure out if we can fix it. And if we catch it early, we can fix it. By June 1st, you have to say yes or no to the UCs. And that's usually when your transcripts are due. So again, no transcripts for the UCs unless they ask you specifically for them. All right. So there should be a start the application thing there. Are we there already? Or?
Okay, this is what came up when I clicked on the information you gave me.
Okay, so scroll down. Keep going. Okay, so this is the, I guess, application. So the first part's personal information is really, because I'm using my phone, now I'm all creepy right in everyone's face, right? Big old head looking at that, right? So anyway, so I wish I exfoliated now. Bad pores. But anyway, so name, address, phone number, pretty simple there. Scroll down. Where were you born? There's no trick there. Just you know, keep going there. Name, address, phone number, blah blah blah. Keep going. That's an easy one to do. Save and continue. Scroll down. Your address, all that stuff. Pretty simple.
So the student's name is GCC. So
yeah. Firstborn's kid. Yeah. All right. And continue on. Save and continue. Bottom. Country and citizenship. Okay, cool. So whatever and some of you may not know that. You might talk to your parents what your citizenship status is. If you're an undocumented student, AB 540, for citizenship, you put no selection. And for social, when it asks for that, you can leave it blank if you don't have a social. But if you have an individual taxpayer ID, you can put that for social when it asks for that. But otherwise, you can skip it. It's not required. So, and when you have specific questions about your situation, you can talk with one of us in the transfer center to kind of work that out. Because I know sometimes some of you have like pending cases and like kind of like what that looks like. No matter what you put later on, if you don't put American citizen or whatever, later on, it's going to ask for more proof. That's the only thing. So start trying to gather your documents for down the road. Probably maybe January, February, they might ask for further information to see what your status is. AB 540 is if you're undocumented and you're in high school for at least 3 years. And there's some other technicalities that you could be worked out too at that point. But most of you maybe have identified already if you're AB 540 undocumented or not. But I still find some students who didn't know that they were. So again, that's more of a one-on-one thing. Let's see here. Okay. Would you have graduated high school? They might ask for some high school information, but not much. And your high school record doesn't really matter to them. It's just they need just some just data for their research. That's all. Okay, continue. Demographics. This doesn't help you or hurt you. So, however you identify yourself, the UCs don't use race, ethnicity, gender, anything like that for admission purposes. They're just trying to get an idea of who's applying to these schools. So just do your best estimate of how you identify. It's a personal decision generally. So however you identify, again, nothing's going to help you. Nothing's going to hurt you on there. Okay, continue. Let's see here. Again, this doesn't help you or hurt you. So don't think like, okay, is it better if I spoke English or better if I spoke French or Armenian or Russian? It makes no difference. So whatever it is, your background is, put it there. In fact, I think most students at the UCs, their first language was not English, interestingly enough, right? And let's see here. And your marriage status, it doesn't matter to them if you're married or if you're happy. See, that's a joke. You see that? Okay. All right, continue on to the next thing. Did anybody get that joke? All right, continue. All right. Household. Okay, so this is the first thing. Okay, so this isn't your FAFSA, but so this is an estimate of. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Appreciate that. So don't encourage me to say more things. So this is an estimate of your family income. Doesn't have to be accurate as long as it's in the ballpark. If you estimate like maybe $5,000 lower than your family income, I think that's still reasonable. But if you make 200,000 and you say we made $2 a year, that's kind of extreme. So this is just for the fee waiver, right? This is for the fee waiver. If you qualify for it, you get 4 free applications. And so do your best estimate. Basically, it's parents' income. If you live with both, it's your household parents' income. So you live with both parents, both their income. If you live with one, just the one parent that you live with. That's basically how you do it. There's some buttons there that you can click later on to get more definition of that. It's really not a big deal here. And they don't look at the income for admission purposes. But if you come from a low-income family, you definitely want to talk about that in your personal insight questions. So again, this is just data that sits there. It could help you if you talk about it later on in your actual personal insight questions. Okay. Let's see how many people are in income. Again, and some of those, you have great little insight questions, great little questions to get clarification if you have a complicated situation in yourself. Okay, continue. All right. Now, parent education level. Now, you have to understand the intent of the question. So this is parent education level anywhere in the world. So a lot of people, your dad's a PhD in, Romania, and you're like, oh, I'm going to say my dad didn't go to college because he didn't go to college in the United States. Well, that's not the intent. The intent is that you come from a college-educated family. Now, I also understand that maybe your parents did go to college in a foreign country and don't know how the education system here works. You can talk about that in your personal insight questions. Because I know so a lot of students, their parents might have been really successful, but had to give up everything to come here, and they have maybe service industry jobs, and that's fine. You talk about that in the personal insight question. But for here, you're supposed to talk about anywhere in the world what their best education level is. And if you don't know exactly, maybe unfortunately your parent is deceased or you're not familiar with them, then you could either skip it or do your best estimate of maybe what that was. Again, this isn't critical. Your story around it is critical, but not the actual data. This is just for the research purposes. Okay, scroll down. I think that's mostly just, let's see. Okay, save and continue. Review. Okay, so this is a way to catch mistakes. I thought I made a mistake once, but I was wrong. So, all right, this is a way to see everything, to see if there's anything. It's a better view to catch anything. So this is your chance to catch it. Now, if you make a mistake on this application, and no college will ever admit you again for the rest of your life. You're banned from, no, I'm kidding. In January, you can fix the mistakes that you've made. All right, so if later, because you're not going to see mistakes until you finally submit the application, and of course, then you'll see, oh no, I spelled my name wrong. But in January, you can send a message to the UCs, and it's all fixable. So there's still a chance to catch everything. But of course, you want to make sure you do this right. At the end later on, I'm still old school, so I'd probably print out the application and visually look at it. I guess that's the only way to look at something, visually look at it, but look at it and see if there's any errors that you've made. That's a way to catch it, right? So, all right, so just you review everything and then you go to the next section. All right, UC values. All right, so just read about their mission statements, I guess. I don't know, you can read more about them. We're the greatest campuses in the world, blah, blah, blah. All right, and then this is the, you're all going to be transfer students. So I believe, I don't think any first-year students here are there, but so transfer students, you graduate from high school, and even if you didn't graduate high school, you can still get admitted to the UC. So they should probably, they can change that question, but basically you don't have to be a high school graduate to attend a UC. So don't worry about that. Scroll down a little bit. Please type of applicant. Okay, so you're all going to be 60 to 89 units. Even if you have more units at Glendale College, they cap you, they stop you. So don't put senior. If you put senior, they're not going to admit you. So you can take all the units at Glendale, keep going, and then they stop you at 70. So you can't actually go above to senior status. So you can't have too many units if you've only attended Glendale College. There's a limit, so that's a good thing. If you attended a 4-year college before or a UC campus, then talk to one of us in the transfer center to see how that affects you. But basically, if you've just taken lower division units, you're still okay. You'll be a junior transfer. Okay, next. All right, so you choose campuses.
Talking about, Kevin?
What's that?
The map you were talking about.
Okay, oh, cool. Yeah, so I think I got it right in my head as I was doing that. Okay, roughly. Okay, so those are the UCs, and you see Merced is kind of in the middle. It's kind of more farmland. So, I mean, there is a lot of money in agriculture, and that's kind of, if you're interested, there's still a great possibilities there. But most of the UCs are by the beach or by a major city. Okay, so for time purposes, I just clicked UCLA. And of course, for alumni purposes, I clicked UCLA but you can click as many schools as you want to transfer to there. Let's pick San Diego as well. Just click on San Diego, UC San Diego there. And let's go to the next section. All right, so for UCLA, I picked biology. If you're in the, yeah, if you did the tag, you have to put the school that you tagged. Yeah, you still have to apply. So the tag is setting you up for the actual application, and you have to apply to the same school and same major. For UCLA, it allows an alternate major, but that's only for scholar students. For a non-scholar student, you just get one shot for the major. Scholars allows a second one. And don't freak out like, oh my God, I should have done scholars. That's fine. Like, I didn't do scholars, so don't worry about that. If you did scholars, great. It helps you in the application process. So either way, you know, you're still going to be fine, but that's an alternate major. For your main major, whatever it is you're interested in, the question is, you're applying twice. Well, tag is a different app. It's a tag application that's linked into the actual application. So it's, yeah, essentially, if you want to look at it that way, yeah, you're applying twice, once to the tag and once to the actual application. So I'm glad you asked that question. You still need to apply. So UCLA biology major, and there's so many other majors that you can apply to UCLA, a lot of the sciences. So anyway, continue on. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so you can look at all the different majors and see what makes sense for you. All right, so let's go on. Did it allow San Diego, or remember we added San Diego or no?
Let me see. I think I might have not saved it. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, so you could pick alternate majors for every school. A lot of schools will look at your alternate major. And again, I can't stress this enough. It really doesn't matter for the most part what you major in. I have research on that. You can always email me and I can give you that research on that. That over time, it's more about your personality and the things that you do that makes you successful in whatever career that you pick. Your major is kind of like a screening device. I'm a sociology major, that's why I talk this way. But in the hierarchy of oppression and systematic, racism, whatever, your education can help you navigate through that. But the systems oppress you too. You can't get the education, but if you can, it can help you navigate. And again, once you get your degree, it's what you do with it, not necessarily what you major in, unless it's a technical training thing like engineering or nursing. All right, enough of my speeches. All right, UC San Diego, we talked about those college rankings. And this is that piece, because otherwise you'd be freaking out if I didn't tell you. So thank you. And again, you'd be at 4 o'clock in the morning texting me, right? Like some of you do. All right. Again, I would say recommend Muir College, #1. Marshall, #2. 6th College, #3. Roosevelt, #4. Warren, #5, and Revelle last. The people at Revelle College at UC San Diego are just stubborn. It's probably instructional faculty over there that have like monocles and like, we're distinguished here at UC San Diego. We won't accommodate for the transfer students. That's probably how they talk at that college. That's what I'm assuming. So put Revelle College last. Because again, if you're a philosophy major, you end up in Revelle, you're gonna have to take chemistry and calculus and a bunch of other god-awful things. God-awful for me, I'm a sociology major. For your science people, like, oh my God, I get to take extra chemistry and extra calculus. Good for you, you weirdo. All right, next section.
Kevin, is this the only college that makes you rank these colleges?
Yeah, that's the only one that does it, yeah.
Okay, great.
And the intent is that, again, it makes the larger university smaller. So you get your paperwork processed. You don't have to worry about all these bigger. So I like the concept of it. And if you're a freshman, you're a first-year student, Your GEs would be shaped by that college, but as a transfer student, most of you have your IGETC completed already. Okay, so next. Okay. All right, keep going. That's just a review of what you're applying to and everything. All right. Academic history. If you did the tag, you could link them up here and it'll put in all the classes that you sorry, all the questions are kind of like hit me at one point, but if you've applied to the tag, you can transfer all the classes you put into the tag into this section here. So continue on. And if you can't link it, that's fine. You just have to manually enter the whole thing. Yeah, so a lot of times it doesn't work for whatever reason, but yeah, you can manually enter it there. See, I knew, Martin, that that question was coming because everyone has that same problem every year. All right.
Somebody asked, and I don't know if you answered it yet. UCLA has a couple of prep requirements for my major. However, I have not taken all of them at GCC, partly because some of them were not offered. Is it possible to get accepted without these major prep requirements?
Let's meet one-on-one for that. You send me an email because we have to see how many you've taken and what major, and you want to do as many as you can. And I'd have to pull up my chart just to make sure what the minimum is for that particular major, and just for time, I may not be able to do that right now. But the whole idea is take as many as you can. And if Glendale doesn't offer them at all, then they're more flexible on that. But if you have the chance to take it at Santa Monica or Pasadena or whatever, I would recommend doing that. Okay. Last high school attended, whatever that is. If it's in another country, you could type it in there, and you could. My email address is kmeza, M-E-Z-A, @glendale.edu. kmeza @glendale.edu. All right. Oh, perfect. Thank you. All right. So academic history. Oh, so Glendale. Okay. So we are in. It's going to ask what colleges you've attended. So any college you've attended, even if you went to Pasadena and you took one class there, you have to put that college there. For Glendale, we're an A through F system where there's no pluses or minuses. So when you put your grades in, don't give yourself a plus. A lot of you give yourself pluses. I'm like, there's no pluses. You know, I don't see you give yourself minuses, right? So Glendale's A, B, C, D, or whatever. Some schools have pluses or minuses, so obviously you'd put that in there, but Glendale's A through F. We are also a semester with winter session, so that's important. So sometimes you'll be like, oh, Kevin, there's no winter session. What happened? And I'm just like, don't worry. I went to PhD school for that. And then I'm like, click that button, semester with winter session. And then it's solved. Winter session shows up there and you put the classes you've taken there. You're also gonna put from when you started Glendale, which a lot of you maybe started in high school, to when you're gonna end. So you don't put till current, you put till you're gonna be at Glendale till June 2021, if we make it that far, right, on this planet. So June 2021, from when you started. I know some of you started maybe your sophomore or junior year in high school. We'll put that. So that's where the only kind of errors happen in this section that I've seen. Okay. Yeah, you manually enter that. So when you're putting in grades, so that was a question for Erica. When you're putting in classes that you've taken, you put in all the classes you've ever taken. You got a W. You got a non-transferable course. So everything will show up there in classes you've taken. If it's not transferable, so let's say add. So edit fall 2020.
I clicked on the wrong one. Give me a sec.
That's no problem. No problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better to make a little error here than working on my laptop to make it and then making me buy a bad laptop from a Lenovo that doesn't honor warranties. All right, so you put all the classes. So generally all of the transfer courses that Glendale offers will show up there. So sometimes you're taking like Math 101 and you look under Math, no need to look under Math, but under Math 101 won't show up there. So you're like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? You know, and then you start hitting your head against the thing. And I'm like, no, chill. Scroll down, and at the bottom, after you take your gummy, you scroll down, and you put, thank you for that, it says course not offered here, right? Or, yeah, I didn't see my courses. Then you type in Math 101, algebra, whatever it is. that you'll see that a lot with maybe your English classes, maybe English 120 or Math 101s, things like that. Most of our ESL classes transfer, so they'll show up there. Oh, by the way, so there's an 8-unit limit for ESL classes. You might have taken 12 units, but only 8 will count, and they give you the highest grades of those ESL classes. There's also a 4-unit maximum for PE. So you can take PE and dance and up to 4 units there. So that's and Erica, that's the reason why. I think generally your non-transferable math classes like Math 90, I think Math 30, anything that's non-transferable won't show up there. And you plug it in there. And that's the reason for that. Now, and there could be some glitches still. Each year we might find a glitch that there's a class that is transferable, doesn't show up there, but that's a glitch. And you can always put it in because a human will actually look at this to input the data. Okay, we can get to the next section. And as I mentioned in the past, or not the past, well, the past is the past. It was only like an hour ago. So the goal is to end this session today at 2. So we're gonna go till 2. And people can stay as long as they want to that point. All right, minimum requirements. Have you met the English requirement? That's your English 101 and 102 or 104. So I think most of you know to take those classes. Your IGETC, most of you will complete your IGETC. It's not a requirement to the UCs. Berkeley has some GE requirements. But generally, we advise from most students, just about all, like 99% of students to complete their IGETC. So try to do that. If not, not a big deal. You just have to take, well, when you transfer, here's how it works out. You're gonna be a distinguished 19-year-old or 20-year-old dealing with the 18-year-olds. And you'd be like, look at these children around me, you know? So, because that's what happens. You have to take the GEs with the freshmen over there. So no one wants that. So ideally get rid of your GEs before you transfer. My distinguished transfer students here. Transfer courses, if you did IGETC, then you'll have this completed. Because generally to get to a UC, you need some English classes, math, and a couple of GEs. And if you did IGETC, you can put yes to all this, as long as you have, you know, some of the GEs completed. You don't have to complete them all. If you're a science major, if you did all your science prereqs in the science area, that's fine, as long as you have one class from the arts and humanities or the social sciences. So if you have one for one of those categories, you'll met the GE requirements. Those are the only students that I see sometimes get worried about it. Engineering, computer science, science people, because sometimes they don't take courses in the other areas. All right, so scroll down. I think that's kind of, that answers that with those questions. So again, if you did IGETC, this will take care of itself. And I think sometimes it self-populates if you already input all your classes. All right, next section. Oh, actually go back. There was an AP statement there. So your AP classes count for certain things. So scroll down, there's a little statement there. And AP courses, a score of 3 will be used to fill the subject. Yeah, so APs count for this, and you can type in there. Okay. All right, and then if there's anything additional you need to write in there, like maybe your status as a citizen or resident or something is pending. Maybe something you couldn't figure out how to input a grade in there. Something's kind of like in limbo. You can make a little statement there, and it's kind of that's just an option to do that. Mostly like residency issues, or maybe your high school, you couldn't find it on there because you went to high school in a foreign country. So that's where you can fix it there. So that's what that note is. You don't have to, by the way, you don't have to put things in there. You don't have to like, oh, my life, I've always wanted to attend the prestigious UC system. I love you guys. You don't do that, right? Just get to the point. No need to get their head even bigger, right? Okay. All right, review. So again, you review everything this is a great way to catch everything there. All right, so next screen. AP exams, I'm gonna answer this question that you're all gonna ask probably is, should you put your 1s and 2s in there? You're supposed to put everything you've ever taken on the AP exams. It doesn't hurt you, it doesn't help you if you have a 1 or 2 on the AP exam. So, but definitely 3s or higher, you get credit for classes and it fulfills requirements. So definitely 3s and above. And yeah, I believe you only put the last high school, I believe. That might have to go back and check, but see if it does. I believe it says last school of attendance, but we'd have to do one-on-one for me to verify that. I'm pretty confident that's all you need for that. But APs put knocked over this. You're all okay? Did I hurt your head? Okay. All the APs you've ever taken, you put them there. That's it. Yeah, ones and twos even. So, all right. IB exams. If you don't know what an IB exam is, you didn't take it, so don't worry about it. It's an international baccalaureate. It's kind of like the AP exam. So if your high school didn't offer it, no big deal. Just skip it. TOEFL exam. Generally, if you went to high school in a foreign country and the language was other than English, like Ireland. I'm just kidding if they have a strong accent, but you put that your TOEFL score. For most schools in the UC system, if you pass your English at Glendale College with at least B's or better, you won't have to take the TOEFL. If you didn't pass B's or better at Glendale College, then you might have to take the TOEFL. So again, if you went to high school in a foreign country, the language was other than English, you might have to take the TOEFL exam for some of the schools. And I think you're still okay with the TOEFL, even if it's expired. But again, we might want to talk one-on-one to look at that. I know the Cal States make you take the TOEFL no matter what, and USC makes you take the TOEFL no matter what. The UCs have a waiver. So if you're concerned, look it up online, who has to take the TOEFL for the UCs, and then also talk to your transfer counselor for the specifics of that. TOEFL is basically a test to see if your English is strong enough to survive basically at the college level. Which clearly it is. If you pass Glendale, then it's going to be fine. So it just might be the nuisance of taking it again. All right, next question.
We had a couple questions in the chat saying if we're not using AP credit, do we still have to put the scores?
Well, I guess you don't. I mean, technically you're supposed to put them. It's generally not going to hurt you. But I guess you could skip it. But the idea is that your complete academic history is supposed to be in here. I don't think you'll get in trouble necessarily or anything like that, but you're supposed to put everything that you've taken. Now, will it hurt you to withdraw the tag? No, you can always revise it. That's fine. That's an easy one. You know, I guess technically if you took an AP exam and passed it and took the same class at Glendale, the Glendale class doesn't really count, like the grade doesn't count. So there are some things so all I can say is follow the rules, and the rules say be honest and put everything out there. That's the official line. That's to keep you safe. That keeps you safe from them getting back at you later on. Okay. If you have a shady life and you're trying to hide stuff, we can meet in the alley somewhere, or just bring some cash and I can give you some advice that way. But make sure that it's unmarked bills. All right, international exams. Some of you are like, okay, I'll meet with you in the alley. Here's $10,000. Nice. Actually, yeah, man. All right, I like you all. This is good. Yeah, good. Perfect. And we'll have masks anyway. It actually works really well. I like the system. All right, so international exams. A lot of you, if you went to school internationally, you might have taken some exams. If you didn't, you didn't. I'm just laughing at the comments. So yeah, so take the exam. If you took the exams, great. If not, doesn't help you, doesn't hurt you. All right, next one. Okay, review and continue on. Activities and awards. This is the question some of you might ask, will they check? Will they find out if this happened? You know who will know? Jesus, right? Someone is going to find you, the universe, whatever deity, whatever religion you have, there's some sort of penalty for lying. So don't lie on any of this. So activities and awards, do your best estimate of what they are, don't lie. And there's different categories for activity. It doesn't have to be school related. They give most points for what happened after high school. So your college experiences give the most points for that. So if you still have space, then you can still go back to high school because that could help a little bit, but mostly college. So focus on that. Your work experience is anything that you've been paid for. Anything that you've had some sort of job in exchange of money. I think there's a way to look at all of them. Let's see. One of those buttons says like how to add or something. We can see all the different options. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Add another activity, and it should be, yeah, categories. Okay, so honors, award or honor, that could be salesperson of the month. It could be, you know, you sold the most extra guacamole at Chipotle, right? So you got that award. Educational preparation program, that's usually more about if you went to a high school summer program or something that helped you develop as a student. Maybe you're EOPS, maybe the equity program you can put in there, something that help you. You could put scholars in there too if you wanted to type it in there, programs you've been involved in. If you're in scholars, there's a separate form that the scholars counselors, I guess technically I am one as well now, so it's just, that's another workshop for scholars, but you can put educational preparation programs. Extracurricular activity is things that it could be riding a bike, it could also be involved on campus governance, things like that. So that's all the stuff that you do outside the classroom that you're developing. Again, it could be you like swimming, and it could be you volunteer tutoring somewhere, right? It's cool range. Well, actually, go back. I kind of messed up on that. So there's a distinction. So extracurricular activity, again, is leadership things and so forth. Volunteer that's where, again, you're volunteering specifically, again, tutoring people, feeding people, anything you're doing for the greater good of humanity, essentially. And then work experience, anything you've been paid for. Now, if you put something in the wrong box, they're not going to penalize you. It's not a big deal. They just want to get an idea. Are you involved a lot or a little? So get to the point when you write these things too. They just want to get an idea of your involvement, because that'll kind of give perspective of your grades and achievements with all the other things that you're doing. If you're involved in life, you're more likely to be involved and complete your degree. So you're a better investment for the campus if you're more involved. Now, this is mostly for LA and Berkeley, as I keep saying. And if you haven't been involved, don't worry so much about that. If you're not involved and you have life experiences that kept you from being involved, like say you're raising a kid or have other things, then you would talk about that. So I don't want to freak people out. You're like, oh my God, I'm not going to get admitted. This is just a small piece of this. So don't worry about that. Again, best estimate. Okay, continue.
I want to pause just for a second, Kevin. Sorry. Everybody, it's been an hour and I'm getting a couple of messages. People have to leave and go to class and stuff. So I'm going to put a form in the chat. We're still going to keep going here. But whenever you leave, just please fill out this form so we can track who is here. And if you have any additional questions, you can include those on the form too. But we're going to keep going. So don't leave if you don't have to leave. Stay here. We're going to keep you here forever.
Yeah, Kevin leads a lonely life. So hang out with me, guys. Yeah. Yeah, hey, here. Would you like some soda or something? Just hang out and talk about life. All right. As I drop you all, there you go. That's why no one wants to hang out with me. I pull phones down and break people's faces. All right. Actually, it's water, not soda. As I spill on myself. Okay, go on. Next one. All right. Oh, work earnings. Oh, that's a funny one in there. There's a question like, what are you gonna do with your work earnings? Like, that's just dumb. Right? It's like, what are you going to say? You know, like, come on, work earnings. You know, so you're going to say, I give my work earnings to charitable organizations and to the church and to my family because, you know, whatever. Just basically your work earnings go to generally like supplies, school supplies, maybe helping out with your family. Well, maybe if you're a business person, maybe your work earnings go to investments. So that's fine too, right? Okay. All right. Apply for scholarships. Anything you might think you might qualify for. There used to be a limit on this. I think they took the limit away this year from what I can tell. So you just see anything that you think you might qualify for, your ancestry, your interests, what you plan to do. Just you keep marking the box of any scholarship that might, and then they'll follow up with you, maybe send you more information. But it's an easy way to gain scholarships and it's helpful.
Sorry. We have a question in the chat. If somebody took GCC classes during high school, do they indicate that as the time they started?
Yes, that's the time they started. And then it's going to ask you, why is there a gap? Yeah, why is there a gap in college? And you don't have to, you just put, I was currently attending high school when I started Glendale College, taking high school courses. And you just cut and paste that because it's going to ask for every semester. So you don't have to like rephrase it, you know, reflecting on life as a high school student, couldn't take college courses. Working on myself, you know, you don't have to just put, I was in high school, you know, and cut and paste. You don't have to keep changing it. It's fine, I guess, if it says freshman for 3 years. I haven't seen that specifically, how that, we could look at that one-on-one, but that's fine. I mean, it's it's from when you started, and that's kind of like one of those little technical things of the application that I haven't quite figured out. But it's not really a big deal. Just as long as all your Glendale stuff appears, all the classes you've taken, as long as that appears, that's the biggest thing. Okay, so scholarships, you know, be honest with it, right? So if you say like, you know, a scholarship for Nordic people from Norway, I can't apply. If I apply for that, maybe for that interview, it's going to be awkward me walking in, this Mexican guy, right? Well, maybe with a Viking hat, maybe I'll trick him. But try to see whatever it is. Again, whatever your background is, go ahead and click the buttons and see what happens. All right, next section. Support programs. Okay, EOP. EOP is intended for first generation low income students. That was me. My father was a factory, come from factory worker family and so forth. So it did help me. So if you think you need extra support by being a first generation college student, even if you're a first generation college student in the United States, you talk about that, you get extra counseling. I don't think you get any extra money, but you get extra support and tutoring, which could be helpful as you develop as a student. So, and why you're interested in EOP, I mean, it's just, I mean, kind of what I'm saying. Like, I'm a first generation low income student, had some challenges navigating the college experience, something like that, to just show like why do you think you'd benefit from the extra services that you would get from these programs? That's what they're looking at, if you understand what your programs are about. And if you're at EOPS at Glendale College, then of course you've already maybe talk about that. You've already evolved in the program and you found it beneficial for yourself. Okay, next question. Okay, review that. Okay, personal insight questions. All right, this is the one, like the actual application shouldn't take you more than maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half at the most. The personal insight questions take a bit longer to write. We actually have a whole workshops on that, but I think I can get some of the highlights here today since we're all here. Did everyone leave, by the way? How many people still here? I haven't seen. Okay, there's still people. Okay, cool. Well, now I messed up because now I hit the button. Okay, cool. Okay, got it. Okay, so cool. You're still with me, or maybe they fell asleep in the background, but I guess it's fine. Yay, we're there, Isabella. Hey. All right, so you can read their tips. My biggest thing, again, is your academic achievements within the context of your life. That's what they're really trying to find out. And they're trying to get to the point of this. You don't have to write this like amazing poetic thing. If you're a single parent, you don't have to write, when I saw Diego's eyes for the first time, his brown, beautiful eyes lit up my heart like a rainbow. You don't have to write that. You could say I'm a single mom or single dad, and I work 30 hours a week to manage my family. You just kind of get to the point. We love Diego. Diego's great, but you just get to the point. That's why they shorten it up throughout the years. You just kind of say, what's your main thing? The things that kind of get you, the other thing you think about is major, thank you, Sarah, major accomplishments and major challenges. Major accomplishments, major challenges. That's kind of the thing. Anything that's action oriented that you're doing. Now, sometimes you're not going to get points in every question, and that's okay. Sometimes it's neutral. If you really like yoga, which I've done yoga 10 times in my life, and I really liked it, I talk about it a lot, about those 10 times. I'm like, that could really benefit me. But let's just say yoga is your thing. That's great. Find your balance. There's some like spirituality in it and all that. But it doesn't really help me make a decision on you being admitted. So it's great that you like yoga. It's helped you through some things. Great. All right. Now, if you found yoga to be beneficial and you start teaching yoga to other people, maybe to kids or people homeless or something that you're doing something great or good, or even just friends, like that's something, an extra step. You're doing action oriented. So think of it that way. You like the piano, you worked hard at it. That's great. Kind of gives me, add some more color to your application, but it doesn't give me points. But again, don't feel bad. Not every question is going to give you points. So get the points where you can. It doesn't matter which questions you answer. And I'm able to pull it up on this other thing I have here. Just as long as your story comes through. You all have to answer question number 1, which is what's your major. But all the other questions, you can pick whatever that you want. And remember that only UC, Berkeley, and LA will really read your application. So if the major is the same at both those campuses, that's what you're going to write about. So say you're a philosophy major at Berkeley and LA, and you are a history major at another school. I think those are similar enough where you might be able to combine it. But if you are a engineering major at UCLA and a philosophy major somewhere else, let's say UC Riverside or Irvine, UC Riverside or Santa Barbara, write your personal statement towards your UC major. I know I kind of jumbled that a little bit, but focus on your LA and Berkeley if you're going to talk about your major, because they're going to use that in your application materials, where the other UCs, it's kind of not as important. So blend where possible, but if not, focus on those 2 schools of kind of what your major is and what you plan to do with it. And let's see here. Describe how you prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses. I don't like their question at all, but that's what we have. I mean, you've taken all your prereqs, okay, fine, but like maybe talk about your involvement, if you had any extra papers, any research that you've done, or extra writing things that you've done, or any conferences you've gone to, or any like volunteer experience related to either your major or your career. I like to combine it. So you're majoring in biology or anthropology because you want to go to med school or pharmacy. Then of course, right now you're volunteering at a hospital. You can link that. I'm a bio major or history major taking science courses, but I'm relating the sciences to my internship to prepare for grad school. So you can link things, your work experiences, volunteer workshops, things that happen there. Let's see here. And that's question number one. What have you done towards your major? And maybe how that developed. A little bit, maybe how you got interested in it. Don't talk so much about the major itself. A lot of people seem to write a book report on their major. So that's not really what they want. They want to talk about what you know about your strengths in the major and how you'll develop. That also reminds me too. Remember I did this earlier. This is your inspiration or your event, and this is kind of like your impact on you. So a lot of you talk about your grandmother who left their country of origin and she fed a family of 20 that she raised on her own, you know, and then she opened a business selling apricots, and now she's worldwide known as Grandma Apricot and everyone loves her and stuff like that. So that's great. We'll admit your grandma. She's awesome. You kind of suck. You haven't done much with your life, right? No, but talk about your grandma this much, but how it impacted your life, how that inspiration made you become a gender studies major or made you major in economics, right? Don't talk about so much about anybody else. Just talk about yourself and how that developed. And that's important because a lot of times people talk about those influences, and when they get to their part, they talk about themselves that much. So make sure that I call it like a 90%, 10%. 10% the event or the person, and the 90% impact on you as a student. So keep that, and don't feel like, oh, Kevin, I have 89% on someone or 91%. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just kind of an idea, right? Just a concept. Those are kind of the things I see people having trouble with. Grammar is important just as long as it conveys the idea. It doesn't have to be poetic. It just has to get to the point and make sure it's clear in your writing. The Writing Center has people that can help you with this too, and they're great. Well, the Learning Center has it there to help you to get support when you write this, and take advantage of their services while you're a student, because this is a good opportunity for you to develop your writing skills anyway. Now, so that's question number one. You all have to answer that. The other questions, I won't go step by step, but I'll kind of skim them. It doesn't matter which ones you pick. You just have to pick 3 of them. One is about leadership. Number 2 is about creative side. Your greatest talent or skill, educational opportunity, significant challenge you have faced, how'd you make the school better, and then something else about you that you haven't covered in the application. So there's flexibility there, and each one of your stories is different. Watch out for humor. I know I'm trying to make little jokes to keep you awake here, but humor doesn't always necessarily go on paper really well, so they can actually think you're serious about some crazy thing you said, right? So be careful of that. And also, you know, you might make a reference that a 19-year-old will know, but maybe the 80-year-old person reading it may not. What is this thing about, you know, whatever. So make sure that it's relatable. Now, honestly, it's not going to be an 80-year-old read it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, you know, that's fine. But I think most people reading it, admissions people, are probably 30 to 50, around there. So they'll kind of know what's going on in the world. But just make sure that people get it when you're making references to anything there. And watch out for controversial subjects. Just kind of bounce some ideas off people. And whatever has happened to you, on a serious note, whatever has happened to you in life, they've seen it all. So you can write about that. And again, to get serious in a moment, it could be you had a loss in the family or some sort of abuse you experienced. You definitely can write about it. And sometimes this could be triggering. So you definitely want to use our campus services. We have a school psychologist that you can talk to through the health center, because every year this happens. Some things you haven't really addressed. This is the first time talking about it. So definitely use the services that we have on campus, because it could be, you know, emotional when you write these things. And again, it's not so much the event that happened. It's, again, how you grew from it, what you learned from it too, right? Try to keep an overall kind of positive tone of development. And, so whatever happens, even if it's a challenging time in your life, or maybe it's a breakup with a boyfriend or girlfriend that was significant, end it on an up note, like what you learned from it. I don't want to read these. And then at the bottom, I'll read this whole sad thing, like, and that's why I'll never love again. Like, I want to leave like upbeat, like, so just end it on a good positive note, how you've grown. Not that you'll never love again, right? All right, let me see here. Any specific, go ahead. Yeah.
We have one question in the chat.
Sure.
Volunteering and work opportunities are limited for this individual during these times. Will they take the virus situation into consideration for work and volunteering?
Yeah, because they're not going to put too much weight on this for this year. The thing is that by the way, if COVID has affected you specifically, you definitely want to talk about that. Because obviously it's affected everybody, but if it's affected you specifically in terms of maybe you lost your job, maybe your parents lost your job, maybe someone got sick in your household, you definitely want to talk about COVID. Otherwise, I think everyone's going to talk about it, so it may not have that. I mean, obviously everyone's impacted and it's definitely serious, but if everyone talks about it, it doesn't have an impact unless it impacts you. And again, I think the UCs are going to be flexible in that they know that everyone's kind of shut out of a lot of opportunities that they could have taken of normally, but they can't this year. So they're definitely, they said at one of their meetings, we're not monsters, we're human. So that was kind of we'll see, but that's kind of what the statement they made, that they'll take into consideration. What other questions? We still have a few minutes. There's not much left in the application, so we don't have to worry about that. Just a couple of click-throughs after that.
So how long do they spend reviewing and reading each application?
It's hard to say. It's probably less. I mean, it's probably 30 minutes. Well, someone has to calculate the GPA. That's kind of the main thing. And then they probably skim the rest. So someone calculates the GPA for them, and then they get their application. They probably read your personal statement in about a minute or two. They kind of skim it. And you're like, I know that's your whole life. I know it's 18, 20 years of your life. I know, but they're just going to skim it real quick. Okay, involved in leadership. Okay, had some, like, it's really just a quick scan, just to kind of get the bigger concepts. But I think, the lower your GPA, the more this other stuff kicks in, and they'll probably spend more time if they think that there's something that they see that kind of is outstanding. But don't worry too much about that. Just put your best foot forward on that. All right, what other questions we have?
So are there personal insight questions and a personal statement? Are they different things or are they the same?
It's the same thing, yeah. So before it was called a personal statement, so some of us elders still call it that, but now it's called the personal insight questions, PIQs, and it's the same idea. It's just, this is kind of your interview, essentially. Some majors, if you're a communications major, the department will read it. For most other majors, it's just a general person from admission. So if you put technical things, like all these things about physics, it might be a history major reading your no problem, Erica, thank you. So keep that in mind. Try not to be too technical in what you're writing about, just maybe how it inspired you. All right, what other questions do we have?
That is all that I see on my end.
Okay, I think, let's see if there's another, click next, see if we go anywhere with that. Additional comments. Anything else that you weren't able to answer in your questions? Who will review major and portfolio of the department? So the department will read your stuff. So you're in the arts department, they're going to look through everything. And if your GPA is at least high enough, they'll consider it. So I just talked to the film department. Probably in the arts, if your GPA is 2.4 or 2.5, not that I'm assuming your GPA is that, but as an example, they might have a hard time admitting to the college because they're going to worry if you're not going to do well. But if you're 3.2 and above, they'll look at your application. A little bit below that, maybe of a 3.0 if your stuff stands out. 3.7 is pretty solid for a philosophy major, yeah. And again, additional comments, say you do have that child, or maybe you had a learning difference and you didn't talk about it in your personal statements. This is where you can talk about that. Maybe something COVID related, you had to drop your classes in the spring. They forgive you, that's not the issue, but you could talk about what you went through, right? So this is, I'm a film major. Okay, so film major, and film major, like I said, you just never know what's going to happen with that. You apply, they admit 15 people, it could be you. And it's all about your writing ability, your vision, and your involvement in there. You can't submit a film or anything to that. That's the issue there. I've actually working with a lot of film majors lately, so kind of get more of the details of it. Do you have a vision of filmmaking? That's the thing, perspective point of view. What else? What other questions popping up? This is like buzzer beater time.
Yeah.
A couple minutes. Phobia. I did mention USC, or okay. For the arts, you have to, but I don't think for film, I don't think you do. But again, this is a general pitch, so I have to go back and click into it. So, oh yeah, so you do, well, for the specifics of film, we got to go detailed because yeah, there's too much technical thing. And I've been doing a lot of research like this. For film, USC, if you have, here's the idea with USC and UCLA film. USC, if you have the privilege, if you have access to filmmaking equipment, they're gonna benefit you there for film. For UCLA, they're doing their best to level the playing field. So a lot of their admissions is based off your writing samples and see your vision. They try to reduce any inequities that people have in access to film and production and things like that. That's how UCLA offers it. So that's kind of thing. But don't trust me for all the specifics of film in this platform because there's so many steps that we have to do for the actual application of that. But it's all public. You just go to the film school to see that. You're welcome to everybody's kind of sending me those things. And then since I mentioned USC earlier, their deadline for most of their majors is February 1st. So you would apply for the UCs, apply for the Cal States, take your finals, take a breath, and then you start the USC application. Let's see here.
Well, a lot of questions right now.
Yeah. So the structure of the personal insight question, just make sure it makes sense. There's really no structure. Just follow a narrative. It doesn't have to be a beginning paragraph and end and something. Just follow a structure there. We do have specific personal insight questions workshops with the Writing Center, and they'll go into that. But it's not necessarily about your writing style. Just make sure that your stuff comes through. All right. Elise, were you going to say something? Sorry.
Yes, I was just going to say that someone's asking if they should contact you through email to set up a Zoom virtual meeting.
Yeah, ideally set it up with the Transfer Center. I'm available on Wednesdays for the most part, and see if it's set up through them. If that's not working, then email me. We can work something out there privately. And there's another thought I was going to share with you. We've still got a couple minutes volunteering.
And then
so,
this additional comments section is not required, right?
Yeah, it's not required. Again, you don't have to fill it with fluff. They have a lot of work to do. You don't have to fill all that stuff. And again, maybe everyone fill out the Google thing sent out in terms of the who is here, your ID numbers and everything. That'd be helpful. I'm looking through some other chat stuff. So fill out that Google form to see if you were here. There. There's no recommendation letters except for supplemental. So only some majors have supplemental, and when you apply, they'll give you links to that. But most majors at the UCs, you don't. 99% of majors you don't need, but I think film does. Maybe some of the performance things need recommendation letters. I think that's what Jessica's probably talking about, and we could talk about that too privately about that. Yeah, there'll be some additional stuff later on, but we can talk about strategies like who should be your recommendation letter for anything like creative. Okay. Just arbitrary. Anything else? At least any announcements you need to make for ASGCC? Anything else coming up that they should know about?
I muted. I think that's it in terms of. I don't know if anybody's hasn't seen this website, but the UC admissions has like directions for the personal insight questions. And there are like guidelines too for things to consider. So I don't think we covered that. I'm gonna stop sharing, Kevin, if you don't need this anymore.
Okay, yeah, again, I just want to say congratulate everyone for this step, and then we're here to support you. This is like gets a bulk of it, but follow-up questions in the Transfer Center, and anybody in the Transfer Center can help you out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And then please make sure to fill out the form, the Google form, before you leave. I think I sent the wrong one there.
You're welcome, everybody. This is awkward, like when people sing happy birthday to you. Just like... Oh yeah, that was looking weird when I was hitting on things.
That's okay. Oh, I think it's still recording off.